This video was brought to you by Slidebean, a web platform that designs your presentations for you. Just add the content and let artificial intelligence do the rest. Get 1 free month by signing up at slidebean.com/YouTube. Creating presentations is usually a time-demanding process, and beyond that, it's frustrating for a lot of people. Here's the fundamental problem with the traditional way in which people make presentations. When you're creating a slide, you're concerned about the content of that slide, and at the same time, you're worried about the layout. While you type in your title and your bullets or bring in your charts, you're being distracted by the font not being right or the elements being misaligned, and that is just incredibly distracting. It's the main reason people waste hours on PowerPoint. So in this video, I'm going to cover presentation ideas for defining the content of your deck, presenting professionally, and of course, creating memorable, well-designed slides. The first and most important tip I will give you today is focus on the content first. Don't even open your presentation platform until you've solved the content, and do that in a distraction-free place like notes or an actual piece of paper. Think of a presentation as a story. I think most presentations are, and this applies even more to pitches. The introduction to the story should talk about the problem, the status quo, how things aren't working. Your company, your product, your service comes in to break the status quo. It overcomes difficulties, and finally, once the audience is in awe, that's when you sell. Even a boring company report could be told as a story. How the company struggled, how the competitor or the antagonist tried to outsmart you, and how your team outwitted them to become victorious. If you work on a plain text platform to write the deck, switching this around is a lot easier than going back and redesigning whole slides. As you write the slides, make sure that each slide only talks about one idea. One idea per slide. You can use charts and other elements to reinforce that idea, but it should be only one. For each slide, do your absolute best to stay below 100 words or around 500 characters. Any slide above that will look overcrowded, and trust me, people don't read them. Remember, slides are there to illustrate the point you're making. If you're walking someone through a deck and your deck overwhelms them with information, they will either pay attention to you and just ignore the deck, or worse, try to read the deck and ignore what you're saying. Even if you're sending the deck over email, stay below the 100-word limit, because chances are your reader is not going to stop and read everything. We have the data to prove it. Don't be afraid to allow your audience to breathe by separating your sections with a clean slide. If your status quo section is 5 slides, don't be afraid to add a breather slide to begin the new section. Some schmuck came up with the rule that you should limit the number of slides. I want you to forget about that. 30 clean slides are way better than 10 overcrowded slides. What you should learn to limit is the time that you spend on the deck, not the number of slides themselves. Practice, set up a timer, and go through the slides as you will the day of the presentation. If it took you 10 minutes on rehearsal, that's going to translate into about 15 minutes the day of the presentation. So always leave some breathing room to make sure you don't go over time. If you're spending several minutes on a single slide, consider splitting that slide into more slides to keep the audience refreshed. Every change of slide is an opportunity to get the audience's attention back. Related to that, make sure that you look at people in the eye, especially those who are distracted or falling asleep. Eye contact with the presenter forces you out of those Reddit memes and back into the presentation. You mustn't think of your presentation as a script. I've seen it done and it never works. I spoke at a TEDx conference a few months back, and I'll never forget how one of the presenters had a literal script that he recited word for word. First, the audience can tell, and second, if you forgot a sentence, then you're lost. He actually had a script prompter hidden behind the stage, just in case he forgot. This is another tip, by the way. Personal stories are great to engage with the audience. Just learn to tell these stories with only the necessary number of words. Instead of trying to write a script, use the slides as a reminder of the topic. Can't remember what you should be talking about next? Well, just change the slide. There's your reminder. The slides are a tool for you as well as the audience. And once again, if you overcrowd them, you'll be tempted to read them. So don't. The headline and the under 100 words that you added should be enough. Not everybody is comfortable speaking on stage or in public or in front of a lot of people. So think of your presentation as a conversation. Practice by presenting to a group of 3 people and start adding more. Think of it as telling a story. It makes it easier. I'm a firm believer that a confident speaker is better than a rehearsed speaker. You'll see many speakers, including world leaders, just using rehearsed hand gestures like this or like this. They're just being extremely aware of maintaining their right posture. On the contrary, I look to behave as casually as possible. I want to level with the audience. I've even sat on the edge of the stage if I want the presentation to be more casual and more horizontal. Also, know your tech. Be prepared for HDMI versus VGA. I still see VGA ports incredibly. Wireless or remote presentations, especially in coronavirus times. We made a whole video on how to pitch online, so feel free to check that out if you want. If you present often, buy your own remote. They're cheap and they provide a far better experience to the viewer than you being stuck in front of your laptop or just asking somebody to move the slides. Slidebean, of course, also lets you do this from your phone, so even better. Also related to tech, take advantage of the presenter notes screen. Most platforms have them and they let you see what slide comes next. They let you monitor how much time you have left and read the notes that you left for yourself. So notes are very useful to remind yourself of the points you need to make on a specific slide. Make sure that you don't add 3 paragraphs in there because in the middle of the presentation, you won't have time to read. So what I do is I just add large, bold keywords to make sure that I don't forget the points I wanted to make. All right, let's get into the actual design of the slides. Less is more. Don't feel the need to decorate the slide. If an image is necessary to make the point, just go ahead and add it. If not, only words are fine. Look at platforms like Medium. It's minimalistic, no color, but an absolute focus on readability. That's completely fine, and it breaks if you suddenly try to add 3 bar charts to the same slide. If you must use images, please don't use stock photos like these. The solution is called Unsplash, and it's perfect and it's free. Millions of royalty-free images that don't look like stock photos. You can also illustrate slides with icons. We use a platform called the Noun Project, which also has millions of icons. What's even better is that you can download that icon in any size you want, so it's never going to look pixelated. And you can download it without a background and in any color you want, so you can make it match the branding of your company and your presentation theme. Speaking of theme, a color palette makes a world of a difference. If your brand has a brand book, stick to it. Consider it your rules. Most brand books these days even include a replacement to black. Black is a harsh color on a deck. Most brands these days use a dark gray that blends a lot better with the rest of their palette. If you don't have a brand book to follow, try going to Adobe Color. It lets you browse millions of color palettes and pick the feel of the deck before you even start making it. Once again, stick to the rules of the palette. Never pick random colors from the color wheel, or even worse, those god-awful default colors from the Microsoft picker. In regards to fonts, understand what fonts are for. For body text, you can go with serif, sans serif, or slab fonts. Serif fonts are the ones that have the little serifs on the ends. They are typically used on formal documents and executive type presentations. Sans serif fonts are more casual, but by no means informal. They're usually fresher and easier to read. Slab fonts are a new popular trend that stands kind of in the middle of these two. And all of these are appropriate for body text. For headings, you can absolutely use one of the fonts I just mentioned. You can mix and match or even just use the same font for everything. That's totally fine. If you want to be edgier though, you can certainly go with a more stylized display type or handwritten fonts. Just don't abuse. Please don't use Calibri. It's the default font on most Microsoft Office versions, and it reads, "I didn't bother to change the default font." Another font crime is Comic Sans, but hopefully that's hidden enough so nobody ever finds it again. Moving back to design and imagery, consider using GIFs. They're fun and they break the monotony in a long presentation. As a broader tip, have fun with the content. Add little nods and pop culture references on your placeholders. We often put Breaking Bad or Lord of the Rings references on our website and presentations, and we like to think that people notice. For example, we're doing 42 tips in this video today, mostly to upset our competitor, and because 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. If you need to add mockups, we recommend trying out placeit.net. They have a fantastic platform where all you do is upload your logo or your screenshot, and they automatically place it on a device, a t-shirt or a mug. Let's talk about some don'ts now. Don't close your presentation with a thank you slide. Don't. There's no need. Don't waste that opportunity to do a call to action or to show your brand again. If you need to say thank you, say it. Don't write it on the slide. Please don't use laser pointers. They were a thing 20 years ago. If you need a laser pointer to refer to a specific point in your slide, that means that your slide is overcrowded and there's more than one idea per slide, which means that you're breaking my rule number 4. Don't make any text smaller than font size 16. That's too small for a presentation. Watch out for color contrast. Remember, you might be presenting on a projector, which might not be bright enough to display colors that are too similar. If you must use video, embed it on your presentation and make sure that you selected the correct timestamp. You don't want to be scrolling through a video while presenting. You don't want to be opening YouTube on a separate window. Also, make sure that your video is not longer than a couple of minutes. Engage with your audience. People like to have conversations. For example, ask them what other tips they would add and tell them to drop them in the comments. To raise their hands. Last but not least, tip number 42. You can rewatch this video, try to memorize all these tips, write them down, or just use Slidebean. My co-founders and I, we literally started this company so that people wouldn't have to worry about all of this. Everything from the character limits to the color palettes, the storytelling structure, the images and the icon resources, they're all integrated into the platform. Slidebean is free to sign up and you get 1 free month on our starter plan by signing up at slidebean.com/YouTube. Also, if you have an existing presentation that you would like our team to redesign, we can help you. Just hit that design services link. Finally, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned on more content around presentations, pitches, and startups. See you next week.